Hey, what's up, YouTube? This video is going to be about the unpacking and setup process of my Roland VersaWorks BN20 Print and Cut machine. I just picked this machine up the other day, and I'm just going through the setup process right now here on my computer, installing the drivers and the software and everything to get the machine running. But so far, so good. The install and setup process seems pretty straightforward, and the documentation provided by Roland is excellent. It's got a lot of photos and everything is outlined very clearly step by step. So I haven't had any issues so far. Right now I'm just installing VersaWorks, which is essentially the software that you use to communicate with the printer. So I've already got all the drivers and so forth installed. Basically, this software is where you would set up the print file so that it knows what it's printing and what it's cutting and etc. It's the main program in which it communicates. Other than that, I've got a few rolls of vinyl media to get started. The two main things that I want to do with this printer primarily, or the things I want to start with, are die cut stickers and vinyl decals, like car decals and things of that nature. So I ordered some print media to do some test prints and etc. with those two document types in mind. And we'll definitely be cracking into some samples as soon as I get all this software installed. I just kind of wanted to touch base and yeah, let you guys know that I did pick this printer up, and I'm adding something else to the home workshop because stickers to me seem like a great item. They've got really high margins. They're easy to print and cut. You get a lot of variety because you can print stickers of pretty much any type, any kind, and just pop culture things are very popular. So anyways, I'm going to continue getting the software installed, and once I've got the printer at a stage where we can maybe do some tests, I'll check back with you guys. Okay, so the machine I picked up, like I mentioned, is the Roland VersaStudio BN20A. Now, the predecessor to this machine is the Roland BN20. Now, the main differences between the BN20 model and the BN20A is that the BN20A is just a CMYK setup, whereas the BN20, the predecessor to this model, not only was it CMYK, but you also had the option of printing white or holographic or metallic ink. Pardon me. So the BN20 had that extra ink option. The only downside, of course, to having the metallic or the white available as an option is that because the white is made a little bit differently than the CMYK inks, the printer required some additional maintenance. So going with the BN20A, if you're not going to be using the white anyway, which most clients don't use, then this is the better option because there's less maintenance required. In fact, most customers with the Roland BN20, the predecessor to this model, even though it was white ink compatible or metallic ink compatible, what most customers would do is they would put in two magenta cartridges. Generally speaking, the magenta ink is the ink that you go through the most. So instead of using putting in a white cartridge or a metallic cartridge, two cartridges that they really wouldn't utilize, customers would put in two magenta cartridges so that the printer would get more prints done before you would have to replenish the ink. So Roland releasing this BN20A model and getting rid of the metallic and the white was actually probably a good change because it's made this printer come in at a retail of $4,995 US instead of $6,500 US. So you're saving about $1,500 US, and honestly, you're not really losing anything because the amount of customers who are going to utilize the white or metallic ink are very few and far between anyway. I spoke with a number of different sales reps who deal with selling a lot of these machines and dealing with clients who utilize them, and they said that literally probably 9 out of 10 clients went with a double magenta setup. Another positive for the Roland BN-20A versus the traditional BN-20 model is that the BN-20A actually prints a little bit faster than the BN-20. It's not by a huge margin or anything, but any additional print speed that you can get is obviously going to make your workflow that much more efficient. So if you're not using white ink anyway, which most customers wouldn't, like I previously said, then you might as well get the printer that's going to produce results for you faster. Okay, so for the setup process of the Roland BN-20A, step number one, of course, was installing the drivers. So I got all the drivers and the utility software installed, and now I'm installing VersaWorks. And this installation's almost finished up here. So once this installation finishes, the next step of the process is hooking up the printer to the computer with the supplied USB cable, and then the computer will prompt us at that point to begin filling the printer with ink. And there's a little bit of a process associated with that, wherein you have to use the ink cartridges provided, of course, but you also have to use what they call these dummy cartridges that are provided. So I'll show you guys what that process looks like as soon as VersaWorks installation's finished up here. So as you can clearly tell by the lighting, it's a little bit later in the evening now. I ended up finishing the setup and the installation of the Roland BN-20A software. And then I took about an hour or two of kind of messing around to learn the software and get an idea of how to properly create cut contour lines, so that when I load a design in to do stickers, for example, it will not only print the design, but go around and die cut the sticker appropriately. That took a little while to learn because it involves Illustrator, Adobe Illustrator, and admittedly I'm not the most well versed in that software. I mean, I have an understanding of it, but I'm not a graphic designer by any means, so it took me a little bit longer than it might have, but thankfully there are some great resources here on YouTube for that. I'll put a video down in the description that I used for learning how to add cut contour lines. And basically it's like a 5 or 6 step process. It probably takes about 5 or 10 minutes to get a PNG file ready for print and die cut. So it's not too long a process, thankfully. So like I said, I'll put that link down in the description so you can check that video out as well. But the noise you hear in the background is actually the printer. It's running. Right now I'm doing a run of stickers for a customer. They ordered 600 stickers, so a good way to kind of test the machine. Right now I'm printing on a glossy vinyl, and yeah, the EvoSolvent inks just look fantastic. The lighting in here is really poor right now because it's nighttime, but I need to get some better lights in here. But yeah, it just looks great. Super happy with it. And over here I've got some stickers that I already completed. I've got about 60 or so there, and like you can see, they're all die cut, like I mentioned. So you add the cut contour line around the design, and instead of it coming out like just like a square, you actually get the design die cut, which is much cooler. So yeah, so far so good. So like I mentioned, right now it's printing some sticker designs out. So what it does first is it'll go through and it'll do the entire print job, which it's about to finish right now, and then it'll pull the vinyl media back into the printer because it's got the roll back here. So it'll pull the media back, and then it'll begin the cut process, which I think it's doing right now. Yeah, see? So it pulls the media back, and now it'll proceed to use the blade to start to cut them out. I wish this process was a lot faster, but honestly the quality is impressive, so I'm willing to compromise on speed. I have been told that pairing this machine with the Roland 24-inch cutter expedites the process quite a bit. So that's something that I'll probably consider in the future. For now, however, I think I'm going to just use this machine as is for a little while. I have an embroidery machine coming that should be shipping sometime early February. So yeah, that is a little bit of an expense there, so I kind of don't want to get involved with a cutter right now if the BN20A can do both. It may take a little while to do both, and it's a little on the slow side, but for me it'll do the job for now. So yeah, it's just going through and cutting. So this is a look at the VersaWorks software that's included with the purchase of the BN20 or the BN20A. And it's a fairly straightforward software for the most part. You just import a job into here in either PDF format, EPS, JPEG, PNG, but obviously it's preferred that you're importing in a format like EPS where you've already added the cut contour lines and etc., if that's applicable for your job, of course. If you're just printing a large format sign or banner and it just has some straight edge cuts on the ends, then you can just do that with a table cutter. You don't necessarily need to have the machine doing any of the cutting for you.